I mean, Scandinavia at the moment, I think everybody is getting out of their houses and back into work. It's summer, and everybody is looking forward to a beautiful summer with lots of fun and everything. And it looks like all restrictions in all 4 or 5 countries are being lifted slowly but steadily. Um, and on the creative side, there's a lot of things happening. I think one of the most important things is that the whole in the old days, people were going together for co-writing sessions and other creative collaborations. They needed to meet up in person. What I see from that whole camp vibe in the old days, where it needed to be physical, now everybody is doing it remotely, and it's as creative as it would be when you're physically. So that's nice to see, and people are writing and producing music a lot. I have a couple of camps myself where we put people together for specific projects and so on. So what I'm seeing is there's a lot of creativity, a lot of great writers, lots of great producers, some interesting artists coming out of the Nordic region. It's really promising in my opinion, and a lot of really what I really like is that there's a lot of really young focused people who really delivers quality. In the old days, you needed to be discovered and make yourself wave through mail and attract whatever attention. People can do that themselves today via social media and just putting up music, like setting up music and getting it live within a few hours, which is an amazing thing for creative people that actually can output things every week if they want to. Of course, the big problem we have at the moment, or we will have, is actually what we also discussed the last time we had a conversation, is that it's so easy to upload stuff that it's also a jungle. Like Spotify has 40,000 new tracks every day put up to Spotify. So getting out of what I'm saying, the jungle or the mud, and being actually noticed is of course a huge challenge. But I think for the right people with the right music and who puts a professional effort into it, it's doable, if you know what I mean. It's just a quality thing. And there you have a lot of algorithmic things that can help you as well. You know, all the major record labels are actually signing acts now and finding artists based on data, like based on that somebody loaded something up in Hong Kong and it's moving or getting noticed or people are talking about it, if you know what I mean. So you have what you call data A&R, and all the major labels are using services that actually pick up stuff almost like a little radar that actually picks up cool stuff that moves in Japan or Australia or whatever parameters they put into their search. In my honest opinion, not to be very rude towards the Americans, I think the big American labels are totally into numbers, if you know what I mean. You cannot get, like, say you're a rapper and everything, if you don't have a presence on social media and has proven that can actually attract an audience, you will never get signed. Of course, there will be examples where you will get signed anyway, but I think the numbers needs to be right to get a recording deal. And of course, people are listening to music, but the problem, what they actually are using data for is filtering, because if they get 40,000 new tracks every week or every day uploaded, they need the filter. They need to, like, people need to get a buzz going, or else it will be too difficult to find the song. 20 years ago, you maybe had, if it was a really big week, you maybe had 200 singles being released every week. And they were already picked by an A&R person, and there was a marketing campaign and so on. Now you have a lot of tracks out there where the artist and the managers, if they already have a manager, or the artists just themselves, need to make sure that this song gets the data points so it get noticed, if you know what I mean. So I think it's a combination. I don't see it is as a bad thing. Of course, it would be nice if people just listen to the music, but the problem with that is that there's so much nice music out there, so it would be the same problem anyway. And I'm I'm a marketeer as well. Everything I've done in the music business has been always been supported by marketing. So I totally get why the data is important, if you know what I mean. I have another example. I had a good friend who made which is a huge EDM artist in all over the world. I can't mention his name, but we did a new single that was really, really cool, and we all believe this is a huge hit. We got a universal label in Germany to pick it up, and they were really, whoa, this is something that we want. We think it's a big hit. The main problem was we didn't have a platform. It was a big. It could. It's still there. We haven't figured out the plan yet. But they said we want it. It's a huge hit, but we can't find the platform. If you know what I mean. It's a new song, so you don't have a social media profile. You don't have 3 million monthly listeners on Spotify. We don't know how to do this, if you know what I mean. Of course, you can do then collaborations, so you actually piggyback on another audience. But this is a huge song, but I cannot get it further until I find my platform. And the platform is somebody else that we can do it with that actually has the ears of the listeners, if you know what I mean. In the old days, you could come with a huge song and it would blow up on radio or in clubs and so on. That doesn't happen anymore, if you know what I mean. You need ears on, like, you can also see like a good example if you look at on some of the classic big artists that had huge singles. Their audience on Spotify and all the other streaming services are quite low, if you know what I mean. So they also need ears out there to get things going, if you know what I mean. I agree with you on some points of the PR are neglected, but I also think that the old school PR, even though you have Rolling Stone, Spin, and all these magazines, they all also have limited capacity of coverage, if you know what I mean. When there's only this amount of journalists, if you know what I mean, where on the digital stuff and the social media, like there's an endless row of new releases, if you know what I mean, where but I think the ones that actually do PR the very good way and actually is still respected and can get it done the right way. I still see if you're Billie Eilish or Olivia Rodrigo or some of these, I still think they're using press very good, if you know what I mean. But I think it's very difficult for new artists that doesn't have a voice yet or a profile or being picked up or getting good reviews to actually get PR, if you know what I mean. That's where I think for some artists, when you actually have proven that you have a buzz going on it, I think mainstream PR is very important, if you know what I mean, to reach another level in people's perception, if you know what I mean. And that's but that's pretty much still an Anglo-American thing, if you know what I mean, because that's only American and UK artists who get that buzz, if you know what I mean. It's so difficult for Danish, German, French can do it, and the Swedes can do it as well because they're so hip in the whole thing they're doing. But for everyone else, it's difficult to get the attention of the Rolling Stones or Spin or the music magazines, if you know. We have two music magazines in Denmark, and they're quite supportive of local talent, if you know what I mean. At least half of all the articles online and in the physical media is with a local angle, if you know what I mean. And the good thing is they're actually treating these two magazines are similar to Rolling Stones and Spin, but in a more local version. they're treating new music as fashion pieces, if you know what I mean, which is a quite nice angle, because then it's brought to the young consumers like it was fashion, if you know what I mean, but still with credible journalism and everything, if you know what I mean. They're digging more deeper in. They have talent pools presenting the top 12 rappers of Denmark, or the top 7 singer-songwriters to watch this month. So I think it's there. I don't think every country has the same possibilities, because journalism and the whole PR thing is needs talent, needs somebody who wants to write the stories, wants to write about culture, if you know what I mean. And the way that actually the whole world are consuming news, we don't appreciate culture like we, if you know, we need to look it up, if you know what I mean. We're not, mainstream media are more focused on the problems of the world, if you know what I mean. If you look at the mainstream magazine or newspapers in Denmark, their coverage of news, they actually they forgot about music and culture for a long time, if you know what I mean, because there was niche media online that they couldn't compete with, if you know what I mean. So they want to. They are more of the scandals and the paparazzi photos and that kind of stuff. It's, in my opinion, the Scandinavian music or newspapers, their attention towards music and culture in general is going downwards, if you know what I mean, and the quality of it is also going downwards, if you know what I mean. Everybody can publish something, and the quality. But again, also I think the good thing is that then when you finally found like a place like Medium or other similar things, you can actually also find really quality stuff, if you know what I mean. So as long as you, and it's up to the consumer, if you know what I mean, you can spot exactly what you want to read and who do you want to read. And then the good thing compared to the old days is that Hans, when he finds a good writer that writes really good about music, you will follow that journalist, because you will see what other pieces he will deliver, because you respect him. That didn't happen in the old days, if you know what I mean. That's where you went through the Rolling Stones, okay. So now it's actually, I think the PR thing has been changed, so it comes back to a really good music journalist writing good about the real stuff. He will become an influencer, if you know what I mean, because he will influence you and I, because we respect his choices and his words. Hans, the problem is it's not allowed, that kind of journalist is, it's not allowed to call him an influencer, if you know what I mean. That's just the buzzword that we put on him. He would be, that would be the blogs, if you know what I mean, the really good music blogs that writes about music, that discovers music, that actually calls you up and say, okay, I want to interview your band, if you know what I mean, and do nice coverage. So I think the wording, when we use the influencer word towards music journalism, is just a bad word, because honestly, in my opinion, if we would tag influencer with being bad quality, or just an image and a caption, if you know what I mean, not more than 140 characters, if you know what I mean. Whereas music journalism or really good blogs, they go into deep, if you know what I mean. I love the articles, I love mediums where you, okay, this long read will actually take 13 minutes to read, if you know what I mean. And I read a lot of these stuff. I think the good thing also is that there's a lot of great people around the world that actually write really well. But we just need to discover them first, if you know what I mean. I think it depends on the artist. I think we have both worlds, if you know what I mean. I think you still have very cool record labels that direct their artists the right way. Although I think for a lot of the artists in the old days, the manager was something that you needed all the way through. Taylor Swift is a good example of somebody who took the things into her own hands, if you know what I mean. She got in a big fight with Scooter Braun, and then she just re-recorded her albums because she wanted the power back, if you know what I mean. Of course, there's people behind her and everything, but she, like, social media has given the power back to the artist. So the right artist who actually has a feel of what they're doing and a plan, they can be self-managed, if you know what I mean, with a good team. And then there's artists that needs help because they're only musicians, and so I don't think it's different from the old days. I think today you just have 200 different labels that does this, if you know what I mean. Where in the old days you had Interscope was doing this, Death Row was doing this, Def Jam was doing this, Uptown, whatever, if you know what I mean. But that was the early of the music industry becoming into 15 different genres, if you know what I mean. We had the same with Geffen Records, who introduced us to a lot of great rock. So the whole thing is that it's much easier today to get your music out there, but it still takes a lot of work and nothing comes for free. What I actually like is that the artist needs to take control of their career. In the old days, the artist just needed to play the pipe of what the A&R and marketing guys said, honestly. If it was like that, if you know what I mean. But today, every artist needs to take care of business, both creativity, but also expanding your reach, if you know what I mean. Nothing will come for free. Whether you're Britney Spears or Lindsey Buckingham or whoever, you need to have control of your audience and your reach. And if you don't have that, nothing will happen. What I do, I'm actually have this hybrid company where we both work with brands. I'm just launching a big campaign with Carlsberg and the World Pride organization for the World Pride in Copenhagen in August, where we've done some music, and we've done like a big campaign that includes a lot of different things. And when I actually enter into a brand partnership with a brand and we do it on equal terms, we actually get a lot out of it, if you know what I mean. And this is celebrating the Pride movement and that whole thing, but with great music. So everybody's getting something out of it. The brand gets something out of it, Pride gets something out of it, and the artist gets something out of it. Pretty like 90% of the stuff that I do, there will be a commercial partner somehow, because honestly, we don't have the budget to get the reach, if you know what I mean. If I need to get something out there, I need money from someone else to make sure I get heard, if you know what I mean. And you know exactly where the brands and music and entertainment actually meet perfectly today. That is, now in the old days, we're talking music. It actually is content. Whether it's an artist singing, doing single, performing, interviewed, whatever, that's content. What do the brand needs? Content. So the artist can deliver great content that the brand can push. And as long as they're just here and there and related in a very nice way, it's all about the content economy, if you know what I mean. Because a brand would normally call the ad agency, we need a lot of great campaigns. Today they would go and say, we need great content to be able to push and do paid push on all the channels. So where do you go? You do go to an ad agency. You don't need to go to an agency. You can go to, in a creative way, you can go to an artist and say, can we find common ground on content? As we discussed the last time with the whole DJ thing and everything, there's so many great possibilities of creating content that is actually good for the brand, good for the DJ, good for the organization, good for a hotel, good for whoever. We can do it very nicely in a proper organic way that will not harm anyone, if you know what I mean. And whether it's in the old days, it was very much alcohol, but this can be tons of other stuff, if you know what I mean. There's so many possibilities for brand partnerships, whether it's internet platforms, cosmetics, whatever, if you know what I mean. That whole content creator economy is so important. So if you embrace that in the right way, I think you will, as an artist, get a lot out of it. And for a brand, you also get a lot out of it. But the good thing for the brand is that normally they would go for the biggest artist and pay them the most money. Today, it's about getting the right artist to do the right content, not about getting the biggest artist to do some kind of content piece, if you know what I mean. It's the smart thing that actually survives, the things that creates virality and that will move and get ears and eyes, if you know what I mean.